Yo, what is going on, everybody? This is your boy Sean, aka Puff Comics 83, and we are back talking the Blade movie franchise. I'm joined by my co-host Varangian Vigilante. We are about to dive into some blood banks, some vampires, and some overall kick-assery from Wesley Snipes as the title character. How you doing, bro?
Doing well. I was born ready for this. Ever since I've seen the first Blade in cinemas. Blade is a character where I have seen every movie was in cinemas when it came out, and the only reason that I saw Deadpool versus Wolverine in cinemas was when I saw the spoiler that Blade is in there. It's, this movie, the first, I remember watching it in cinemas. It was it fall or not? But when it came out here and watched it with the boys, we all played Vampire the Masquerades, of course. Vampire movie, you're gonna watch it, and we came out and everybody felt like, with the strength of 100 men. Hey, Robert. And 2 weeks later, everybody got a black coat.
Sunglasses.
Yeah. Like this film, of course, came out in the end of the 90s. This movie embodies everything that was awesome about the 90s.
Yes.
And it had a huge impact, on us. It has an impact on fashion. It had an impact on swag, on style. So I really think, even though luckily people now finally accept that Blade was the true starting point of comic book movies, even though nobody watched it because it was a comic book movie, everybody watched it because it was a vampire movie. Like, I only realized a few weeks after, wait a moment, was that the Blade from the Spider-Man cartoon?
Wesley Snipes' Blade blew that Blade out of the park. Like, the moment you watch this film, you never think about the animated series Blade that we saw on the Spider-Man cartoon.
It was literally like that moment that Wesley Snipes was played. Even at Marvel, everybody was like, "Yeah, it's Wesley Snipes now."
He owned it right from the start. The moment he comes on the scene in the club party with this music playing in the background,
Blood Rave.
He completely owned it, and he started taking out all the vampires and stuff, and automatically I was like, this movie is 5 stars, it's a classic automatically.
Yes, it's a reason I love media books of all three. Already pre-ordered the 4K of the first Blade in Steelbook. Should be out in December here. It's movies that are always, every time, going through movies, being hyped, and also the great thing back in the day, before the days where you looked everything up in the internet, or really, there were a lot of movie stuff in the internet, especially here in Europe. You were surprised by the cast, remember even with Blade Trinity, it was like, wait a moment, is that Triple H? And also, this makes Blade Trinity a truly unique movie. You know why?
Why?
Triple H didn't go over on the black man.
Fuck WrestleMania 19, man.
Yeah, fuck it.
That was the only blemish on that WrestleMania was Triple H beating Booker T.
Yeah.
Hey. I gotta give a shout out to Booker T and Undertaker. The 6 Feet Under podcast with Booker T and the
Haven't watched it yet. No,
man, both of them were amazing. Hilarious, great stories. Definitely check them out.
I love Booker T, and my WCW heart bled. Even though I love Triple H too, but it bled the way how he lost. And Blade Trinity, when you rewatch it, you're like, get some justice.
But the Blade movie franchise and the first Blade movie in general. I remember we didn't see it when it first came out opening weekend, but we saw it the following weekend. Man, you could not tell how hyped we were going into it, and then how super hyped we were coming out of it.
Yeah.
Like, bro, we was the quotes, the line, all the action scenes, man. And this is during high school years. So it's prime teenage years.
Absolutely.
Of seeing this film.
Yeah. You know, you came out of it, you know, we came out of it, and you had like the feeling you can take on the whole fucking world.
Hey, this movie had us listening to techno music, and that's not even our thing. But yet the music just elevated it even more.
Yeah, absolutely. I may or may not today have ordered the soundtrack of Blade Trinity. Because rewatching this movie finally, like, the RZA song is so fucking good.
Man, RZA carried the soundtrack with the songs. But yeah, this movie just had it all. It had style, it had substance, it had the action scenes, it had lots of blood.
It has lore. It has fucking Udo Kier in it.
Yes.
One of the best German horror actors of all time.
And for what we got out of him, he did a great job in it, you know?
Yes.
Like we could have saw some more of the table of vampires, but man, this film was awesome. And he had awesome death scene.
Yes, he had a really awesome death scene. But yeah, I can remember watching it as like, hey, I'm rooting for the old vampires here.
And that's another thing I really like about it. The vampires have their own little war within themselves. You know, you have the old school vampires, and you got the vampires that are not pure blood. The pure bloods feel like they're the true vampires, while the ones that got bitten and became vampires, they have their own unique ideology.
Because watching it, also back in the day as a Vampire the Masquerade player, it's like they took a lot of stuff from the roleplay game and merged into it, but which totally helped the movie and made the world very believable.
And you add in the science and the blood transfusions and stuff like that, and it just elevates. Like each movie, even 3, but each movie adds on to the lore of vampires.
Exactly. And also with the first one, that, you know, Wesley Snipes and Stephen Dorff, they have both such a unique coolness to them. So it was like a really fantastic choice of protagonist antagonist. Like Deacon Frost, way cooler than in the comics. Just like Blade.
Yes. I think almost every character in the Blade movies is better than their comic book counterpart.
Hannibal King, not.
Hannibal King was Deadpool before he was Deadpool.
Yeah, he was like this. This is the early alpha of Deadpool.
And then another thing about Deacon Frost, like, I kind of wish they played the reference when he was with the girl outside in the day and him had Blade confronted. I kind of wish there was a gate in between it so they could pay that reference of the Gate movie that he did when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Because I love the Gate as well, you know, when he was a child.
Yeah. Yeah, it truly did. And the only bad thing, you know, I would actually really I love Blade 2. Blade 2 I think is the best of the trilogy. However, I would also love to see the Blade 2 with Morbius.
Man, look, and that's what another thing, because of the success of Blade, they had Morbius to be the one to bite Blade in the comics and transform him into a vampire hunter. But if we would have saw Blade versus Morbius in the movies, no doubt it would have been an epic battle. Because I thought their battles in the Spider-Man cartoon was weak.
Yes,
and with Wesley Snipes, it would have been epic.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of people throw shade about the Morbius movie. I absolutely despise Jared Leto. I think he's one of the most unsympathetic people in the world. I just really hate his guts. You know, there's some people you see and you immediately hate. Jared Leto is that guy for me. but I actually enjoyed the Morbius movie. I'm maybe one of the 10 people in the world, but I thought that the Morbius movie was decent.
Outside of you hating him, Jeff.
Exactly, and that comes from me, who's somebody who really, I hate the word hate. I like despise. Despise is, it has more vigor to it. It's a little bit more sophisticated than hate. So I despise Jared Leto from the bottom of my
straight despisery.
Exactly. I don't even know that guy. It's just like, you see some people and it's just like that. But yeah, just wanted to mention.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that I actually didn't read it, but I actually enjoyed Morbius when I watched it. I know Robert is probably the biggest Morbius fan out there in the whole universe.
And I remember in the 90s, back when, Blade was with the Night Stalkers, Morbius comics was going. This was when I was in my huge Ghost Rider element with Danny Ketchens and Spirits of Vengeance and all the crossovers that they had in the mid-90s with the Midnight Suns. Man, I was all into that.
Talking about, I also got my comic book haul, and since my comic book shop got one for good price, of course I got the first Danny Ketch.
I love that book, man. Love
yes.
that.
I also loved it as a kid, and that is like, and I of course had the German version. Also, I okayed the German version to Matt, the boy who had 7, because he's the biggest Danny Ketch fan. But yeah, it's I really think that with the whole Midnight Suns, this run is so horribly underrated.
Mm-hmm.
I know recently they're just taking some keys out of it for some Marvel rumors, with I think with Lilith, etc. But I think that 90s Marvel was awesome. That was also my introduction to Ghost Rider, really, and that I really enjoyed.
I loved that period with the Midnight Suns. And Blade, Morbius, Doctor Strange, and all them. That was like a great selling point for me when I was just reading Ghost Rider to read those other characters.
Yeah, it's also a run. when I find some, I think also I have one of the Midnight Suns comics in there. When I find one, then I'm like, maybe I should start collecting the run.
Also, as great as the cast is, we will pay our respects to Kristofferson.
Yes. So sadly passed
away.
End of
September.
Yeah. It's, that was like one of the things where I'm like, when he passed away, it's like, always, I don't like when we talk about somebody, when they passed away, it's actually, so it's like, it would be cool to talk about it when he was still alive. But, it's also a good way to pay tribute to him. Actually, until very much later, I had no idea that he was a musician. I only knew him as an actor. Of course, first through Blade, and later also, rewatching old movies like Convoy, and he was a fantastic actor.
Yeah, he was a big part of the outlaw country music in the late 60s, early 70s with a lot of country artists. So he was a revolutionary at that time, and then also started acting. But yeah, like you said, it was the Blade movies that really made me take notice of him, and then I noticed him in other films that I watched. Yeah. But he was phenomenal in these 2 films, these 3 films. Actually.
Yeah, the third movie, we're gonna talk about it. It's a decent movie still, but Kristofferson and Wesley Snipes said it very well that they didn't like the script, and they also didn't like how they wrote Whistler out of the movie, and that they didn't get enough screen time.
After bringing him back in the second movie.
Yeah.
It's man, you brought him back in the second movie, and then you're gonna take him out again in the third? That messed me up. I'm like, what the fuck? Why even brought him back? Yeah, but we'll get to the third movie overall, but the first movie...
Exactly, Robert.
Oh, Nosferatu.
Yeah, and as you know, I'm a big Nosferatu fan. I love German expressionism. And in Blade 2, of course, Thomas Kretschmer's role is based on Orlok's Nosferatu visually. And also, like in the Morbius movie, the ship is called Murnau. Of course, F.W. Murnau was the director of the original Nosferatu in the 20s, which is over 100 years ago.
It's crazy, man.
It's crazy.
And it was pretty cool when we talked about that film a couple years back.
Exactly.
You know, and
they also gotta re-upload that one.
Yes. You know, matter of fact, you could send me the video. I'll re-upload it sometime next week before we do that one. Keep it in the vampire spirit.
Yeah. So it's so fantastic that, especially with Blade 2, because Del Toro is such a big fan of German expressionism. And also later, in the Morbius movie, that they all really pay tribute to the first cinematic vampire.
Yeah. And Luke Gross was so good in that role as Nomak that he ended up returning with Del Toro and Hellboy 2.
Yes, exactly.
So, and I haven't watched the Hellboy films in a while, but I remember enjoying him a lot in Hellboy 2.
I think that the Hellboy movies, the original, don't hold up so well. I'm a big fan of the reboot. Also one of the few people, because I totally love the depiction of hell, and I love how gory it is, and I love really how occult it gets. However, yeah, but yeah, it's
I'm gonna
Blade
make
2,
note of that.
Yeah, Blade 2 did a lot for not only for vampire movies, for Marvel movies, but also for Hellboy, because with Del Toro, I think Del Toro wouldn't have gotten the chance to do Hellboy without having done Blade 2 before.
Yeah, because Blade 2 was big for him, which led to Hellboy coming later.
Which is also sad, because that's why he didn't do Blade Trinity.
Yeah, because it's funny that you got 3 different directors doing these 3 films.
You got 2 directors and one sort of screenwriter who tried to be a director.
And it got to the point, it's like, why did they choose him again? And even Wesley Snipes was like, why? You're a writer, you're not a director.
He's not even a good writer, he's a decent writer, but he also needs somebody who does he needs a script doctor for his work.
But yeah, like the first 2 Blade movies, the first film was fantastic. I love Stephen Dorff's Deacon Frost.
Yeah.
Great villain. I know Mbuse Wright had us on the chokehold, because I loved her in Dead Presidents, I loved her in the movie Fresh, and I loved her here. And again, she plays a character that's not shoved down your throat. They don't make her center of attention. She learns quick, and she does her part not only to help Blade, but also to get out of situations herself.
This is like a character that is named Karen, but she's the least likely Karen out there.
She's the best Karen out there.
She's the best Karen. She's like, unlike all the Karens.
She's the best Karen out there. She's the Karen that you want by your side.
Yes, exactly.
And hey, she was willing to give up her blood to get Blade back strong again. So.
And of course, we also got Tracy Lords in there, which is another.
That's a controversial topic there. But hey, she's in the film. But I will say, Donnell Long as Quinn, he set the standard for sideman, henchman that talks a lot of shit and gets fucked up throughout the whole movie.
Exactly.
But always kept it entertaining. Like to me, I think Triple H was trying to emulate him, but he just couldn't.
What I heard is that actually that David Goyer liked his dedication because he's a wrestler. He shows up when he has to show up. He performs when he has to, and that he valued his work ethic so much that he added more dialogue to him. So I don't think it's Triple H's fault. I just think that Goyer is a very, I wouldn't say simple writer sounds so bad, but let's just say he writes a lot of characters very similar because he doesn't has a bigger scope, and let's face it, he's not the best screenwriter out there.
No.
So you have like a lot of the henchmen sounding very similar because he just writes henchman as henchman.
The Blood Pack and Blade 2 were great in their own unique way.
Yes.
And of course, it helps having the great Ron Perlman as one of them.
Yeah.
Because he stands out the most. It's like this fucking Ron Perlman.
Yeah. It was like really good, like having like Blade versus Ron Perlman in there. It was a really worthy fight, and it really seemed that Wesley Snipes had so much fun every time like he got one up on him, like he just with this smile, like he was so happy.
Yeah, it's like each movie had a unique cast. And
love you too, Robert.
Yeah, later, Rob. Thanks for showing up and putting a whole bunch of comments in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Blade 1 really set the tone for everything, and when you have a great cast and great characters, you're just hooked all the way through to the film.
Yes.
And all the attacks on the blood bank, Blade and his fucking awesome vehicle.
And the weaponry, the katana like that he has, like with the spikes that come out, so everybody that doesn't know how to use it will lose a hand. And also the way that it was like, if Goyer also wrote this part, okay, that was very well written, with the vampire, let's call it vampire poison, that was like thrown there, and Blade throws like the katana. So it breaks it out, so that was very well. That was like a very good finale.
I thought the film just was very well done. Had lots of great action set pieces. Blade was powerful, but yet vulnerable at the same time.
Yes.
And I like that they played up the notion of he's a half-breed, he's half-human, half-vampire, he's a daywalker, yet he still has the need, the thirst for blood, and Whistler's giving him the serum to control that, but it's getting out of hand because, his hunger's starting to become more and more stronger.
Which of course also fits very well with Karen, that she actually is really a help there because it's her medical field. So she can improve on the formulas. So that was also very well done. In general, that especially the first two movies, they have absolutely no lengths and they're really smooth in their storytelling. Editing is also done very well. It benefits, and basically all the movie benefit and suffer from the time when they came out. On the one hand, we still have a lot of good practical effects in them.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the CGI was not at a stage yet that it was convincing.
I will say the first film, the CGI sticks out like a sore thumb. The second film, it's a bit more smoother. Some of the fight scenes, but you notice it quickly, like the stage lights in part 2.
Yes,
they're like, wait a minute, is this Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, it is, and you can totally tell that in what parts Del Toro took a lot of pride in, and what parts the studio said, okay, we're gonna CGI that.
Yeah. But one thing you could not CGI is the sword fights.
Yes.
They were amazing.
And Wesley Snipes, of course, as we know from Demolition Man and the other stuff, he's a fantastic fighter, and of course, especially in the second one, also like having Donnie Yen in there.
Yes.
Both
being the choreographer.
Well, yeah. Yes.
You know, the fight scenes were a lot more smoother. You know, like I love the fight scenes in the first one, but the second film with Donnie Yen being the main choreographer, it just flowed so well.
In general, like I think that the Blade movies also pay a lot of tribute. I think especially to Hong Kong action films. You know, when they get into like the bar with the schoolgirls dancing, and all the gangsters and vampire gangsters inside, they look right out of a John Woo movie, like which is hey Kenneth,
so
thanks for joining.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's straight out of a John Woo flick. Like I can imagine if just John Woo direct the action scenes in this film, it'd be like fucking top tier work. But you brought up the weapons. The weapons in these films. The way Whisker comes up with the weapons to give the Blade, man, it's like, man, these are some cool ass props they're using, man. Because it's like,
I know, it's like it's also one of these things. You can bet your ass like we're watching Blade in cinema, and the next gaming session of Vampire the Masquerade, everybody wanted to have the Blade with the red dot. Everybody was.
Like the use of the weapons and how they amalgamated to fit the vampires with some garlic spray and silver bullets. It's like, fuck, man. I want to go vampire hunting now.
Yeah.
And again, it's like the whole thing between Deacon Frost and the vampire elders is that they rather stay hidden in society. You know, being those guys that work without being known that they're vampires, and just say we gonna stay in the shadows and nobody's gonna know about it. But the Deacon is just so fucking open. He wants to party and make sure that like, hey, we can take this bitch over because we're better than the humans.
Which is absolutely also not borrowed from Vampire the Masquerade, where you have like the masquerade that vampires are not allowed to reveal themselves to humans, and of course they have like human servants, which of course is the ghouls.
The familiars.
Yeah, the familiars here, but the ghouls in Vampire the Masquerade. So Goya, like, yeah, he borrowed a shitload. I know Underworld had to give like a White Wolf, who published Vampire the Masquerade back then. They had to give basically a recognition that it's based on that. Blade probably also should have like in there that a lot of the stuff is based on Vampire the Masquerade.
Like I said, man, you're gonna get your stuff from other sources.
Yeah, which is in the back when you can see that under the green books are the original Vampire the Masquerade rule books that I still have.
And again, there's like so many different sources of vampire books, novels, and stuff like that. Like, you're gonna dig in each one of them and see what's the best thing I can do for this modern adaptation of vampires. And like I said, I like the underlying whole elders versus young. You know, I mean, it goes on today. You know, we're in our 40s and we looking at these young kids today like, these kids ain't nothing. And then when we were kids, our elders was looking at us the same way we look at the kids today. So it's a constant generational thing.
It is. And like, you know, Plato wrote about it, Socrates wrote about it. You know,
it's gonna go on to the end of time.
It's gonna be. But never ever has been a worse young generation than now. Says every generation.
It keeps getting worse and worse. And like we were fortunate to be born in the early 80s to experience all this when it was coming out.
Yeah, I mean, we were like not only that fortunate, but we grew up in a better time than our parents, and we're gonna grow up in a better time than future generations.
Oh man, yeah. And another thing is the whole familiar side. I like how he's explained. Blade is explained in the canon. Like, yeah, the vampires don't be out during the day, but they have their agents as familiars running things for them. And it's like, that's always been the case of, yes, we're going to still do our thing, but we're going to have other people do it when we can't do it. And then, you know, humans, like when they will fall on her in her apartment, and then the policeman was there, and like, oh yeah, he's definitely not there to investigate. He's already inside the apartment. And I like that Blade actually used her just to get to him.
Yes. And once again, let's acknowledge how Wesley Snipes transformed a character with a cool concept, but let's face it, very stale and not one of Marvel's A-list characters in the 90s. And he transformed him into like an A-tier character. And today, when you, except for the horrible writing in modern Marvel comics, when you pick up a comic with Blade in there, it's Wesley Snipes. It's the look and the attitude that Wesley Snipes gave to this character. And you know, with a lot of movies, I'm very critical. They say, hey, please don't take this into the comics. But Wesley Snipes made Blade a better and an iconic character. He added to it. He took nothing away.
Yeah, he made the character way better than what it already was.
Yeah.
To the point where I feel personally Marvel failed when it comes to, after the success of Blade.
Yes.
They really should have made an effort to push him more in the comic books.
Exactly. You know, we would have bought like of course back in the day, German translation that we bought like always the comics at the train stations after school, before school, and we would have bought every issue. Like, I can guarantee that Blade was so over, you know, like even in Austria, and the same goes probably for every other European country, that this movie, it just hit the zeitgeist of that late 90s, shortly before the new millennium. And even though that Blade saved Marvel, even though that Blade has an even better second part and a third movie, they didn't really took advantage on how over Blade was all around the world.
And that's the disappointing thing. Like, when they did the MCU in 2008 with Iron Man, and it got more and more popular as each movie went, they started changing certain things in the comics to reflect the MCU.
Yeah, but not in a good way. Not in a good way.
Not in a good way. Because now, whenever you're reading a comic book, it's like, I'm reading something straight out of the MCU. It's not a comic book no more. It's basically an MCU adaptation where they taking stories from the MCU and putting it in the comic book.
Yeah, because the difference is, sadly, that within the MCU, they took the most the most basic aspects of a character and took away all the depth they had from all these decades of storytelling, while Blade took every aspect of the character and added to it to make it better. Like Blade, Wesley Snipes made Blade better. The MCU dumped down all of the characters, and that's the huge difference.
And my biggest problem with, after the success of that movie, is that Marvel didn't capitalize with a Blade series or miniseries or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't really see much of Blade in the comic books. You saw him appear in other people's books, like maybe he'll appear in Spider-Man when Morbius is around and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But you didn't see a mainline Blade comic with the character looking similar to Wesley Snipes, and the stories like saying we're gonna take what the movie did and incorporate it more into this series and reinvent Blade for our mainline comics.
And when they did it, it was too late.
Yeah, by the time when they did it in the after Blade 2, it didn't feel the same.
Yeah. Yeah, they really missed out on that one.
But yeah, the first Blade movie is spectacular. The infiltration where they took out Whistler bummed me out. And I like Whistler's character. I always like when I watched this back then, he reminded me of Caretaker and Ghost Rider comic books.
Yeah.
Because they both had similarities. You know, the white hair, Caretaker had the hat, and they both were support characters for the main one.
Yeah, because Whistler is not originally from the comics.
But he was in the Spider-Man cartoon.
Exactly, I think they invented it in
Spider-Man. That's where they took him from.
Yeah.
But I felt here, Kristofferson did a great job portraying it to the point where, like, when he died, you felt bad because he was like that father figure for Blade. Like, he took Blade in after his mother was bitten and had to give birth to Blade. Yeah. And I'm gonna go back to the mother in a second.
I know, like even when I watched it, like back then when I was 17 years old, 18 or 17 years old, that storyline was very well but very awkward.
and I felt like Whistler became the caregiver for Blade and helped him manage his vampirism. You know, so like he was such an important character, and when they took him out towards the end, I'm like, oh, why we have to lose him? I know in these type of movies, they like, oh, somebody got to die to give the hero the motivation to go take them out.
But they also did it in the off, so they could bring him back in the second movie.
Yeah. But Blade's mother, I felt like was an underutilized story element.
Yes.
That could have been its own film.
Absolutely, and I truly think that along with another things that went on the cutting room floor, because let's face it, you know, it's very Freudian. It's a very Freudian scene, like, you know, with her, like his mother not aging because she's a vampire, and it's
because I remember the Spider-Man episode when the mother did appear, and she was in straight vampire mode. She was wanting to do what Deacon Frost did in this film.
Yeah.
Change everybody into vampires.
Yeah.
And that became a big story point to the point where, like, I felt like she could have had her own film. Played by the beautiful Sanaa Lathan.
Yeah. I think they maybe cut it out, or maybe the studio said this is like a little bit too awkward in a sexual way that they maybe cut it out. I mean, like the whole thing, you know, like the character of Pearl is already creepy, but the way they wanted to go with that character.
Yeah, they misused it. They misused it. Yeah. They could have saved her for her own. If anything, I would like say, and I wouldn't want David Goyer to direct it because he would have messed it up. But she should have been in the main villain in the third film, coming back.
Absolutely, would have.
You know, after like Blade did his thing in 2, her being like the main baddie in part 3, want to take vampirism to the new level, would have been an interesting battle between him and Mom. Because it felt so wasted in the first film. Like, it felt like that should have been so much more. And she just came in and it's like, oh, the mom is still there?
Yeah, it felt like it was a throwaway. You can really see that this was the remnants of a thing that before was a plot, but it's basically really just like, yeah.
It just felt wasted, and it very much an underutilized character that could have became something bigger.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that.
So I felt like that the whole thing with his mother could have been left on the side. Like they could have revisited that in the sequel. It should have been all about Deacon Frost and Blade. Yeah.
Because this could be the whole plot of a new movie, or at least the first subplot of a movie.
Yeah. So, like that to me is my only negative critique of the first film. It's just shoehorning of the mother and just her being underutilized and wasted.
I also have to say that, especially after rewatching Blade Trinity today, that even though, as we can hear in the background, that the first movie has a fantastic soundtrack. However, I would have loved that, just like as a binding of all three movies, that the RZA would have done all the soundtracks. I think that would have even been cooler and even better.
Change up a little bit. But yeah, I agree with you. I felt like the RZA score in the third film fit the tone of the movie.
Absolutely.
And RZA is a genius where he can take elements of like, because he know Blade is a martial artist, so there's a little bit of that Wu-Tang kung fu element.
We know the RZA loves martial
arts.
And
then you got the whole techno aspect to it. He throws a little bit of that in there. Mm-hmm. So he uses these mashup styles of music to create something awesome.
Exactly. And in the past we also talked like the Man with the Golden Fist, which is absolutely also underrated, and you can totally see his love and his talent for writing in there. And when you look at the lyrics of Fatal, like the main song that he did for Blade Trinity, in very few words, he really goes into the depth and the essence of the character of Dracula. And this one song has so much more depth and gravitas than the whole fucking script of Goya. So if I would have said, Goya can make an outline. He is capable of crafting a plot. He still gets his cock sucked because he was one of the screenwriters of The Dark Knight. but for The Dark Knight, more people wrote with on that one. And the RZA as a script doctor on Goya's original script, I think, would have even more elevated all the movies. And it's
I wouldn't mind RZA being a part of the Night Stalkers.
Yeah, and
I feel like they were completely underutilized outside of Hannibal King and Abigail. Like,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and another thing about Goya's script which is when you watch like all three movies through the eye of dissecting it, there's a lot of unnecessary and blatantly visible exposition in the whole script.
Yes. I don't mind exposition if it makes sense, but there's times where it's too much exposition and it's like, and I get the gist of it. You don't need this much explanation of it.
Yeah, for example, like in Blade Trinity especially, when Blade talks through Abigail, again, this is Abigail, it's like, oh, Whistler's daughter. Like it was, like the exposition was really like written by 14-year-old.
Yeah, sometimes even throughout all three movies, there are a certain scene where ain't like the dialogue just ain't there. And
I also watched the audio commentary. Del Toro also said that in the audio commentary of Blade 2 that he didn't like Goya's writing so much. He said, I think, a little bit through, like, he said a little bit nicer than I did today.
He even tried to throw a little comedic stuff on Blade himself. Like in the first movie, second and third, like Blade does these character things where he's like, and I'm like, is that necessary? Because it just feels so out of character for Blade to even do.
Yeah, so I totally get in the third one, especially when Wesley, as a producer of the movie, had to put up with Goya on a day-to-day basis, and then he finally lost it.
He lost it. He wouldn't open his eyes. Fuck that shit.
Yeah. Wesley put the eye in CGI.
Yeah, you know, like you dealt with it for 2 movies, but now you gotta deal with it with him as a screenwriter and the
director.
It's like, God damn it! Now you're seeing the worst of Goya.
Yes,
and that's where Wesley was like, I'm gonna be a complete dick on the set, and because of that, he rubbed some of the people on set the wrong way. You know, notably, Ryan Reynolds, and you know, many people said, "Oh, they had beef. You know, they didn't like each other. They didn't get along." One of the other actors on the set that Wesley called him a cracker, and I was like, God damn, that Blade Trinity fucking problems on top of problems, and this is like getting closer to when Wesley had to do jail time because of the IRS going after him.
Because Blade don't pay no goddamn taxes.
And another thing, Blade 3 wastes. You got the great James Remar in the fucking film.
Yeah,
I forgot he was in the movie.
It's also every time it's like, oh, this James Remar, and he's so wasted. He's even fantastic in the scenes that he is, but the whole thing, and that's also something that Wesley Snipes and Kristofferson said. You're introducing too many new characters, and it was like way too much for a movie that also has the least runtime of all of the 3 movies. And
shit, I thought Trinity was too long for what it was going for. Like, yo, I'm waiting for this movie to end.
Yeah, but like I still say, it's a miracle that it is like a watchable movie. I still enjoy it. You have fantastic action scenes in there. You of course a fantastic amount of talent in there. I also really like Jessica Biel. Like, she was fucking checked. Like, she's so fucking hot in the movie. And Parker Posey as Danica Talos, also really hot, and she really takes her mean girl attitude for Dazed and Confused into this.
Animal King had some words for her.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Reynolds. Let's face it, he was born to play Deadpool. He was fucking Deadpool in this movie.
you listen to it, like, yeah, that's Deadpool in this film.
Yeah.
But Trinity is like, it's one of those films like you don't watch it in a long time, and then when you watch it, it's like the action scenes are competent. It's got some good set pieces, and it's not a bad film.
It's not a bad
you
film.
Just wish it was better.
Exactly.
Especially after following Blade 2.
Which was the best one, of course. It's I remember being in the cinema fucking hyped for this movie, and I was not disappointed to a point where I was like, oh fuck this shit. I was like, well, it was a decent movie, but my final thought was we're not getting a 4th one.
Which is sad.
Very sad. And I still hope that we're getting like an old man Blade movie. And Hannibal King was not the finest hour of Ryan Reynolds, but Ryan Reynolds did Wesley a solid bringing him back in Deadpool versus Wolverine, which was of course the main reason why I went to see it in cinema. And I also have to say, that here in Austria, cinema was packed. And probably a lot of people my age were in there at the moment. The people laughed and everything. Usually, like, we're like a very stoic people of movie watchers. The moment that Blade came out of the door, like in a fucking wrestling show, the cinema popped. Like, everyone was like, yeah!
It'd be like that meme of dude popped on the computer screen.
Exactly, like that like, and this was like where I was in there, and I was like, with a little faith in humanity is restored.
It was amazing. Like, soon as Wesley came on the screen, I was like, Jennifer Garner, get out of here.
Yeah,
it's about what? This is who we came to see.
This is fate, and I'm also like retarded. Well, I don't like you. It's like you never did.
Right, but straight continuing from Trinity, it's like watching this Trinity and then going straight to this scene. It was like, it's like Trinity was right into this scene, and their chemistry was just right there.
I still would have laughed if they would have done like a little bit more on it. Like, sadly, in my head when I first watched it, I was like, "Oh, there's so much played in there," and then rewatching, like, there's not enough played in there. But I would laugh to know that when he hears the voice of Ryan Reynolds, is like, "Wait a moment." But maybe this would have been a little bit too meta, but yeah.
You know what was too meta? Saying that they're going up against Dracula and then showing the Tomb of Dracula comic book.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck was that, man? They should have pulled the one first appearance of Blade.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, did we really need a Tomb of Dracula comic to sell Dracula being in this?
That was the exactly same awkward that in the Logan movie was that they had X-Men comics in there.
Hey, like, look, I don't mind comic books appearing in these movies.
Yeah.
But Dracula, here's Tomb of Dracula. That's who we facing.
Yeah. And also, I think that Dominic Purcell is a fantastic henchman, a fantastic second guy, which I mean with no disrespect. He was fantastic in Prison Break. He was also one of the cool things when Legends of Tomorrow was still watchable, before they turned everybody gay.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah. Which is funny that the most gayest guy, actually, like Constantine, seems the least gay. And he's the only legit bisexual.
Don't get me started with Constantine too, because I was pissed off when they canceled the TV series.
Yeah.
I was mad.
Sucked, yeah. But Dominic Purcell did a fantastic job. Prison Break, Legends of Tomorrow. He's not Dracula. He's not a leading antagonist. He sadly does not command this presence that a Dracula, even a modern iteration, should have.
And I feel like the modern iteration, it's like you're trying to attract an audience to say, "Oh, we need to update and modernize Dracula." I'm like, no, Dracula is the king of the vampires. He is Dracula, Lord Dracula. I need to see him in his full glory as that type of character. And he did not have the essence of Dracula at all. He felt like you said, he felt like a henchman.
Yes.
He did not feel like a final boss.
He does his best. He really tries to put like so much pathos in his words. And he even succeeds, when you just listen to the way he says something. Especially, we've played that, I honor, you fought with honor.
Yeah,
and like
that part was good.
He does it very well. But it's just like, he doesn't have main antagonist look. Some people are just born to be like the second guy. And he's just visually no Dracula. Even though he does his best, and I'm still very happy for him that he got the chance to do it. But I think that the movie would have been better received with having a British actor, like a really British actor playing Dracula. Or like you said in the pre-show, just Dracula in it.
And that's the thing, like they didn't want to go with the normal of what most people see Dracula as. They said we need to update and make him more modern. But that was the flaw of doing it is that you didn't get somebody that was British. You didn't get somebody that was highly intelligent as the character.
Yes, or not even Romanian if you want to go that way.
And on top of like when you see Dracula on screen, you think the presence, you think the elegance, and you think this man is very intelligent and very smart, but at the same time can be vicious and cruel when necessary.
I think that Thomas Kretschmann did a better job in Blade 2 as Demaskinos, which of course is based on Orlok, who is based on Dracula. So actually, that was already very much a Dracula character.
And the bald looks of it makes it look like Nosferatu. So
exactly,
it's
like Graf Orlok is Nosferatu.
So it's like they had the perfect look in Blade 2.
Exactly, and that's of course thanks to Del Toro because he knows his cinematic and his horror history. Goya. Well, I have shit enough on Goya for today already.
Well, let's go back to 2 because 2 to me is the standard bearer. It's funny how when you look at the early Marvel films, Blade 2 was the best of the Blade films.
Blade 2,
Spider-Man 2 was the best of the Spider-Man films. Mm-hmm. X-Men 2 was the best of the X-Men films, and then they all crashed with the third film.
Yeah.
And it's like once you hit that second movie, it's magic. That's what Blade 2 was.
Yeah, because you really have the advantage of not having to do an origin story, and you can really fully dive within a plot. And of course, having such a talented director like Del Toro, who is able to fulfill some of his vision. Of course, the studio was like, having in there is really a recipe for something great. And as we remember, when we did, I think, in a very early period when we started the streaming, we did our top 10 comic book adaptations or comic book movies. That when I said like Blade 2 for me is the best Marvel movie in history, and I absolutely still. This is my point. I'm gonna die on the hill. Even though we got some really good Marvel movies in the time ahead, as you know, I really dislike Endgame for the stupid plot, etc. But I'm actually one of the few people who really enjoyed like the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange, where also would have been a perfect way to have Blade reintroduced, and of course, because we got fantastic meta plot with the Spider-Man, the recent one.
Yeah.
Where we got, of course, Willem Dafoe back as the Green Goblin.
Man. Epic.
So those were fantastic Marvel films, but still Blade 2 just knocks them off the podest. Like Blade 2 for me is still the best Marvel movie out there. It's not only that you have the best version of Blade with Wesley Snipes, at that point already truly have incorporated everything that you wanted Blade to be, and that you have Del Toro as director, that you have like the movie set in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, in Prague. And as I remember, like when I showed you the pictures the first time I went to Prague, I had to visit all the filming location of Blade 2, and it just filled my heart so with joy being there, being in front of the blood bank. No longer blood bank, even if it never was a blood bank, because for the movie. And you also have like this other fantastic talent there, like a Ron Perlman when he was still youngish, then of course Thomas Kretschmann, like my first introduction to Donnie Yen, and the Blood Pack, like so fantastic, like the look of Lighthammer, like Des Crawford's character, then the whole vampire strain with Novak being a fantastic antagonist, amazing. And just looking about it, he was actually just a rewrite because it couldn't have Morbius in that role. I would think Morbius would also have worked so well. But on the other hand, I'm actually really happy we got Novak, and of course, Del Toro using his folklore knowledge of European vampirism, that that especially in Slavic cultures, that vampires didn't suck with the teeth but with their tongues, to have like this different strain of vampires, which of course are used later for the series. This strain, like in there, it just gives the whole movie so much depth, and might be Blade 2 even, of course, along with Nosferatu, especially the version with Kinski as Nosferatu, might be my favorite vampire movie. Not only like my favorite Marvel comic book adaptation, but also my favorite vampire movie of all time.
Man, Blade 2 is just so good. And what makes it even better is the backstory of Nomak. And how his father used him as genetic splicing of vampires to create this strain. And Nomak is doing what he can to survive. But at the same time, he's in pain. He's suffering. Like he does not want this. And you feel for him, towards the end, and how he wants victory, but at the same time,
hey, strong mind, nobody. Yeah, Stephen Torff was fantastic as Deacon Frost. Also surpassed like the original comic book character with his portrayal. But yeah, we just
Nomak with him is like he was the only one to really give it to Blade. Like I think Blade would have lost to Nomak just based off their fighting skills, because Nomak was hands to hands just as good or even better than Blade.
Yeah.
And when Blade stabbed him in the side to the opening of his heart, Nomak saw that as an opportunity to say, he got me, and this is a way to end my pain.
And this is also so fantastic, how Del Toro used like the blatant exposition in the screenplay from Goya in the autopsy scene, and he used it with a very visual what's the English word for it? With a visual thing. That's it. That's it.
The way the designs of those vampires made them harder to kill. The solid bone structure on their chest that protects their heart.
Yeah.
It's like these guys are ruthless and vicious.
Yes, and this was very much a Del Toro scene, because also remember that very similar in Mimic when you have like the autopsy scene. But yeah, and the great thing about Novak was also that he was like an antagonist that you could understand his motives. He was not written like an idiot, and this is something that I always very much appreciate, and I also really enjoyed. You have like this triangle with Blade, Novak, and the vampires. That the first like Blade is like, well, you guys are getting killed. What should I care about? And then the vampires have like their blood, and they're also playing, of course, with Blade in that sense that they're tricking him into the deal. Say, hey, once he's done with us, he's gonna come for your humans. So it was a very understandable way to write Blade into working together with the vampires. And on the other hand, of course, then we have like the discussion, like with Noah, it's like, hey, why you're fighting me? Like I'm taking care of your enemies.
Yeah.
So that's I really enjoyed. The only thing I didn't like, which also Del Toro did not like, is the use of CGI in the fight between Blade and Novak.
Hey, when Novak punched him, when he faked him out with the punch, and Blade flying to the way, I was like, yo, that's straight CGI. When I saw that in the theater, I was like, that is not Wesley Snipes. That's a CGI version of Wesley Snipes.
Yes.
And at the time, it did kind of take me out, because it didn't feel authentic. But I grew to enjoy it for what it was. because they went for the special effects of the fight, whereas these guys are super powered. So a punch from Nomad will knock you all the way through a tin door. So they had to make it look like it was CGI in order to pull off the effect.
What I'm very curious about is, since I haven't seen the first Blade yet on 4K, I'm gonna look forward when the 4K Steelbook arrives here in December. Is how the 4K is handling the CGI effects, because I remember when the Lord of the Rings came out on 4K, that I also was very curious, because as much as I love the Lord of the Rings, I thought that some of the CGI with the cave trolls, with the Oliphants, when you watch it on DVD or Blu-ray, you can see that it's like still early CGI, very well done. You couldn't have done it better at that point of time, but it was still very visual, that it was CGI, so I was afraid that when you do it in 4K that they highlight it. But actually with the 4K remaster, they managed to hide the blatantly obvious CGI effects very much. So I'm very curious how Blade 1, especially like the fight with Deacon Frost, when he puts himself together, which didn't look...
I hated that when I saw it in the theater. I was like, man, that looks so phony.
So I'm very curious with the 4K if it makes it look better or even worse. This is something that I'm really curious to see. I know the 4K has been out for a while in regular edition, but I'm still waiting for the Steelbook, because as you know, like, I love my collector's editions. I still have my original Blade DVD that I bought in the 90s downstairs. Yeah, and this is also something I can't get rid of, because as you already said in the beginning of the stream, that Blade had such an impact on me being a teenager at that time. This movie really took advantage and changed the zeitgeist in that period, and it made vampires. We all loved vampires, like this. We played Vampire the Masquerade, but it made vampires even fucking cooler, and hunting vampires even better.
Yeah, and that's the thing that stands out the most with these films. It's like, especially with Blade 2, where Blade has to team up with the Blood Pack. And then, like, those guys hate his guts because they were formed with the idea of, we're going to take out Blade.
Yeah, and like Strong Mind, nobody mentioned also, of course, like with Perlman's portrayal of Reinhardt, who was a fucking dick in there. And it only was like, that. I remember that bothered me a little bit in cinema. Being of German culture, watching is like, oh, they have a German guy in there, and he's like a totally dick.
Hey, the guy who had a grudge against Whistler, Tupla, like all he wanted to do was take out Whistler because one of their guys got taken out. So he's like, oh, one Blood Pack member down, I'm taking out Blade's right hand man. I was like, come on, man, this ain't the time.
Yeah. And I know that Del Toro likes her, but I thought that Leonor Varela as Nissa was she looked like she was like a Timo version of Talisa Sota.
I didn't think she was bad. She played her part well. She's the sister of Nomad.
Yeah, but also knowing now that they originally wanted to cast Mitra Rona. It's like, damn, that would have been perfect. I loved her in Beowulf.
It would have been better.
It would have been better, yeah. But she
did what she could.
But the first thing when I saw her is like, is this Talisa Soto?
No.
No.
But she did what she could, and I did like the whole thing with her and the father.
Yeah.
He like I said, I felt like this movie elevated the whole mad scientist deal, like we saw in the first movie with Karen, and then this one where he's dealing with the blood and fusions of vampires to create this whole new form of vampire. And it's like, again, playing towards the lore and also playing towards the differences between pure bloods and the non-pure bloods, and want to take it to the next level. And the whole thing in the sewer, when all of Nomak's victims came at them, so damn good.
Yeah,
so
and also of course, Del Toro, also being a Frazetta fan, has some visuals in that are actually based on Frazetta paintings of the skulls, for example.
Wow, I didn't even notice that. I gotta catch that. But yeah, the whole Nomak and his people in the sewer scene, and they had to detonate the whole box full of bombs. That was so well done.
Yeah, I totally recommend watching Blade 2 with the audio commentary by Del Toro. Really lots of insights, and also very much like I say, the first one because Wesley Snipes and audio commentary. I think the third one only Sally has going. I think you couldn't bring Wesley and go into a room. The only thing you would like hear is like, why is nobody talking? Because Wesley is strangling.
But you know, one of the another highlight of Blade 2 was bringing back Kristofferson.
Yes,
and
also the scene they reintroduced him also had such like eldritch horror vibes.
Yeah,
and, love it.
Like I like how him and Scud, played by Norman Reedus.
Yes.
At first they didn't get along, but then he was like, man, I was starting to like this chump. and I thought Norman Reedus did a great job making you think that he could be a pretty cool follow-up to Whistler. And then he's like, nah, I'm a familiar. See, I was working with them all along. And then I like how Wesley's like, well, that bomb is not a dud.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Pull his ass up.
I also really loved the character of Santiago Segura, like Rush, who got away in the beginning. He's like a very He's a very famous Spanish actor, like especially for his movies Torrente in Spain. And I also love in the end that he's like getting the ending, like, are this girl's life?
Hey, he thought he was living the life, no more Blade. Because I like how Blade runs into him in the middle of the film at the club.
Yeah.
He's like, oh shit. And then Blade, like, at the end, he's like, you thought I forgot? Come on, Blade.
Perfect ending. Absolutely loved it.
I didn't do nothing no more. I ain't running with the click. Let me live my life.
And this is also a character, and again, this is also an actor that Del Toro always loved to use in this movie. I say, like, especially if you watch movies outside of the Spanish ones, if it's in Spain, like what I know, like he's legendary for his Torrente character. But every time he's like in a Del Toro movie, he's also really stealing some scenes. So also really like I really love that they gave him like the final shot in the Blade 2 movie.
Yeah. But man, like I said, Blade 2 is the best film of the trilogy, and it's a movie that I can watch now.
Yeah, like I said, there's actually from back in there's only I think there's only one horror comic book movie that is better than Blade 2, and that is The Crow, the original Crow. I haven't seen the new one. I heard good things about it, but I don't know if I like the visual. Maybe I'm gonna watch it like on a streaming service. Like I would go in it with an open mind, but it's really just so that I absolutely love the original. It's also streamed. We have to probably re-upload if we have already done it, like on your channel, especially of course Ernie Hudson in there.
Yes, but like I said, when it comes to these films, I just love them. I love Blade. Yeah. I love Blade 2. Blade Trinity it's a good movie, but it has way more flaws than the first two. But my biggest criticism of the first film is the wasted use of Blade's mother. I felt like that could have been something that could have been brought back for a sequel.
And of course, like the miracle that the first two movies achieved to be that fucking good, despite the script, despite like the exposition, like that everybody really managed to work around it very well. And this, of course, ruined the third one because there was nobody there to really edit Goya because he was director and screenwriter. And this is, I think, what also frustrated Wesley so much because he was the producer and he felt that his word should have been more considered than Goya's one. And I totally understand that he was furious because Blade is his character. He is Blade. There's only one Blade. And there's never gonna be another Blade, like he said in Deadpool versus Wolverine. And like, you know, when he said this, it's like my heart was like, yes, you're right.
When he said that, I literally gasped. I was like, yeah. And the rest of the audience heard me and like, yeah.
And also like shout out to Ryan Reynolds who survived Blade Trinity. Because also Wesley told him, it's like, you know, when you talk less, you're gonna live.
But it was great to see them together again.
Yes.
What's up, Jacob?
And especially that he really didn't only like bring him back for shits and giggles. No, Ryan Reynolds also afterwards, you know, he wrote on social media that, hey, tribute to Blade, he was the first one who really brought a fantastic. And I know there's some really fun and enjoyable old Marvel movies, but Blade was the first one who really mattered and to really pave the way of what it is to have like a modern Marvel movie. When you look at the 90s, you know, pretty much started with Keaton's Batman and it was very much defined with Blade at the end of the 90s. So you can clearly see a little bit of continuation from the DC, from the early DC stuff, not from Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. You can really see the influence that Blade has on especially Marvel movies ever since, and sadly the MCU. As everybody knows, I'm not a fan of 90% of the MCU, but yeah, we need another Blade movie with Wesley Snipes. We need an old man Blade,
especially Wesley can still go. Like he may be older and stuff, but he can still go.
And the reactions from the audience after Deadpool vs. Blade. Like I only knew it from the cinema. Everybody popped for Blade. Everybody wants Wesley Snipes as Blade. You know, Mahershala Ali, fantastic actor. Loved him in Luke Cage. Like still, the Luke Cage series went downhill the moment.
Every movie he was in, he was great.
And even the look as Blade is very good. But he's not Wesley Snipes.
And that's the thing. Like, he has toes, especially after Deadpool Wolverine and seeing Snipes in there. The gorilla on his back just grew tenfold because of what we saw in Deadpool.
Those, like, the comments, like, you know, like Ryan Reynolds' comment, of course, Wesley also reposting it, and everybody in there. And this was like a huge amount of people. We want Wesley Snipes in a new Blade movie.
And I will say this: knowing the MCU, they'll try and fuck it up by saying, let's bring Blade's daughter in there, which is what they wanted to do in the Mahershala Ali film. And I'm like, man, look, we just want Blade.
Yeah, we just want Blade, and let's ignore modern Marvel until they finally realize how to make money.
Can you please let these characters develop? Stop trying to create these new characters, and after 5 years, you want to shove them in these properties. Blade has over 40 years of comic book history. He's got multitudes of stories that you can work off of. These new characters doesn't have the history.
And the great thing about the Blade movies, because why they were so successful, is firstly because they were vampire movies. And you'd like craft a good vampire movie and then put Blade in it, it elevates the vampiric movie by itself. So it's like this is no rocket science to make like a good Blade movie. So please,
hell, even if they give us a new Wesley Snipes Blade movie, bring back Boucher Wright.
Just imagine if they bring back Goya's.
No, don't bring him back, man.
Wesley would go into jail for beheading him on set.
But bring back Boucher Wright. You know, Karen from the first film.
See her again. Or Del Toro.
She even said that if they were up to bringing her back, she wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to see Wesley get one more go at it.
Yeah, and basically I would also really say Wesley produce and let him call the shots. Because there is nobody in this world who cares as much as Blade as Wesley Snipes does. Because he is Blade.
And he made the character popular to the point where everything afterwards is like, it's Wesley Snipes, it's Blade. You know, I'm sorry, but Sticky Fingers was not Blade.
He was born. Yeah, because Wesley Snipes wasn't born ready, motherfucker, to play Blade.
Yeah, so yeah, the films was awesome, and this was a great discussion on all three films.
Absolutely, and a little bit also, of course, like on the one quarter Blade movie that is Deadpool was Wolverine, which.
But like I said, if you watch Trinity and go straight to that scene in Deadpool, it's like a continuation from Trinity.
I actually totally recommend to watch Blade Trinity before Deadpool vs. Wolverine. On the first thing, of course, you see Blade Trinity is actually it's like a movie. I think I've seen it now 3 times. I saw it in cinema. I saw it later when I bought I didn't even buy the DVD. I bought when I bought it on Blu-ray. And when I rewatched it for the first time, I was like, yeah, it is what it is. And now rewatching it again, it's like still better than most MCU movies.
And also, I just say it again, rest in peace to Kristofferson. He played a huge role in all 3 of these films, and you know, he'll always be Whistler, always be the outlaw. Amazing actor, amazing country singer.
Would be fantastic, you know, to have like a new Wesley Snipes Blade movie dedicated to Kris Kristofferson. Hey, Damien.
Yeah, I agree. And Wesley had a heartfelt post about him.
Yeah. So. But you know what I have here?
What's that? Comics.
Comic books. Which is actually one of my bigger orders in the last months. Because I also got some really nice spec issues. Because my comic book store got I think they bought some collections and there was some really nice stuff there. First of all, shout out to Holly Golightly, the wonderful wife of Jim Baylor, because one of her stories is in the new Archie's Halloween special.
Oh, nice.
Digest size, so recommend buying it. First of all, Archie Halloween stories are always fun, and also always support Jim and Holly.
I gotta post that picture. Remember the time when I posted the picture with me, Cyclops, and Jean Grey?
Yeah.
That same time, I got a photo with a guy dressed up as Archie.
You gotta post that.
I gotta post that one.
Then issue number 2 of Conan, Battle of the Black Stone.
Nice. I'm gonna pick that up in trade, man. I can't wait to read that.
I totally recommend it. Conan can do no wrong.
And also, I will say, I hope you and Gary do more shows together, because every show y'all do on Saturday is just amazing.
When I have more time on Saturday again, then I'm sure we have enough topics to talk about. Then, of course, Conan issue number 15, the Mahmoud Asra cover. My boy Mahmoud.
Nice. That's a nice cover.
Nice Conan and Atali. Then, yes, bought some variant covers. But you know why? Because I love Atali, the Frostgiant's daughter. And awesome. There's the Darkness Braid White cover, also with the Frost Giants. They are fighting Conan. Very much, of course, aesthetically reimagined, but still being like inspired by the Frank Frazetta Frost Giant's daughter painting. And then Atali like in the background, like a really beautiful cover. Couldn't say no to that. And I know I'm not buying the recent Red Sonja stuff. However, there was one cover homage that I had to get because, first of all, one of my I'm pretty sure they're gonna at least have some stories within the Seventh Sword of Conan magazine. But of course, since this is one of my favorite original Red Sonja covers from Volume 3 at Marvel. And it's reimagined by Morita, and Morita is one of the best recent Red Sonja artists. His art is just so beautiful. The story inside is garbage, as you just imagined. However, like, I avoid cover buys, but this cover, Morita, and homage to one of the greatest Red Sonja covers from the old Marvel run.
Man, when y'all brought up the Volume 3 run, I was like, man, I did love that run, and I was like,
yes,
it made me want to dig out that run and
this is from issue number 1.
Yeah.
Then naturally Dune, House Corino, issue number 6. Like Boom Studios doing a fantastic job doing interpretations of Frank Herbert's son Dune stories that he was bringing out later. And then the last one of the recent comics before I go into back issues and the magazines is some Mothra. Godzilla, like the Here There Be Dragons, which is a really good run. Like I say, like
show that cover again. Show that cover again. Man, that looks weird and unique at the same time.
I know, but it totally fits. And as you know, I absolutely dislike Frank Terry writing anything Hyborian Age, but he's really good at writing Godzilla. And now, these were books that I always had my eyes open with the pop-up. You see them for sometimes very overpriced, but mostly from American eBay sellers. Mm-hmm. Which here we got some really nice Dave Stevens.
Oh,
Betty Page in a fantastic condition.
Nice.
Jumping Jungle Jive. Of course, a cover that wouldn't fly.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
It would, but it very much fits, of course, like the adventures of Betty Page, like of her time. Then let's get some Tim Silke covers, because my comic book shop also got all 3 issues of Betty Page, Queen of the Nile.
Wow.
And all of these are like really, those are like a mint condition, and I got them for a fantastic price. And the best thing about it, of course, since it was with my delivered with my regular comic book issues, no fucking shipping. No shipping costs, yeah. And this is my favorite one. As you can see why.
Yes, that cover right there.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember I went back and watched an old video of mine when we was celebrating Jeff's birthday, and he had that book in his pile.
I paid fucking €10 for it, which is basically $10.
Nice.
Yeah. And for €15, also in mint condition, of course, like I showed before, the first Danny Catch Ghost Rider.
Love that book, man.
Absolutely brings me back. And as we talked about Midnight Suns, as you know, I love occult covers, love me some Doctor Strange, love me some Doctor Doom. So I don't have Doctor Doom's Sorcerer Supreme. Beautiful cover. And then, of course, 2 magazines, the German Fantasy 3000, German Science Fiction, and the Sword and Sorcery magazine, which I absolutely love, issue number 4.
She blew a hole in his chest.
Yeah. And then, naturally, some Frank Frazetta goodness from Shudder, issue number 19.
Nice.
That's
awesome right there, man.
Absolutely. And especially since like the back issues, I think I paid for all the Betty Page together around 60 euros.
Nice.
For all 4
That's
of
awesome,
them.
Man.
That's a fantastic price, especially especially considering no shipping costs. And because those books, even in a bad condition, go for more on eBay these days.
Nice. I have not really been buying much comics lately. I've kind of
understandable.
I've kind of taken a back seat because I dropped my pull. I don't pick up new books. The last time I picked up a few books was when my shop had this anniversary sale. But right now, I've been just trying to read some books that I have sitting in here and stuff. Finish some omnibuses.
That's
stuff like that. Because I need to get back into reading stuff that I've collected over the years, and I've been wanting to reread the Red Sonja run from the volume 3. And if you guys talk about it, I'm hoping I can reread that run so I can join y'all if y'all talk.
Yeah. That would be awesome. We would be so happy to have you on there. And I totally understand you. Like also say, when you see that actually I bought more back issues than new comic books, and then the new comic books, of course, you had like 2 variant covers of Conan. I'm only buying what I'm reading, and I'm only reading what I'm appreciating, of course, except if the one cover by from Red Sonja, but that was a special category, I would say. But you know what I should receive on Monday?
What's that?
I finally found in Europe the Treasury Conan with Red Sonja.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome, bro.
And the heavy metal with the first Chusco, I think, I also found here.
That's awesome, man. Because I know some of that stuff is harder for y'all to find over there.
Yeah, especially Treasury editions, because size-wise, I think not so many make their way over here, and ordering them because of the size from the US, you're gonna pay more shipping than you pay for the book.
It'd be like the price ain't bad, but the shipping cost is ridiculous to the point. It's like, I can't pay for that.
So I'm happy I found it like in a shop from the Netherlands, and this was just 10 euro shipping from there. So I put some stuff together. And,
speaking of the Netherlands, I sent Sanimation a package.
Nice.
Not only the Prince book that I purchased back in September, I got her 2 Madonna comics. And
she loves
her Madonna. So I was like, I picked those up and I shipped them out to her. Because I know it's hard for them to find it over there. And I remember her saying when she looked it up on eBay, the shipping costs were outrageous.
I know. I don't remember. Have you already talked to the stream with her on the Flotters? Or did we not?
She still can't find the DVD.
She's in the Netherlands. She got the Flotters right outside your door.
I leave it to her.
Yeah,
I'll leave it to her. Eventually, hopefully, before more gray hair comes on my head, we'll get to talking. But I'll leave it to her.
Yeah. But next week, we are not going that far away from Blade because we're going to have some martial arts action and vampires.
Blade was martial arts himself, so it's like back-to-back weeks, and now martial arts, vampires.
Exactly, because when the Hammer Studios joined the Shaw Brothers.
I'm looking forward to this. Just the fact that Peter Cushing in a Shaw Brothers style movie. I'm looking forward to this. To watching this film.
I'm gonna rewatch it next week, and I'm looking forward because I love the effects in this movie, and recommend everybody who loves martial arts and classic Hammer horror to tune in next week.
I'm looking forward to that. We are going to have a blast. It's been a great month so far, talking films as always. So I'm looking forward to that. Thanks to everybody that showed up here in the chat. Jacob, Sleepy Rita, Strong Mind. What is this? Ron James Brian. Man, look, I still have a hard time watching Rogue One. And every time the guy whose body is used, but Peter Cushing's face is on him, it's still.
I think they did it. They did it well. I was actually.
They did it well. I remember when I was watching that movie, I'm putting my face at the TV screen like, how they get Peter Cushing's face on there, man?
Yeah, the thing is really that everybody that knew Peter Cushing was like, oh my god, this is so uncanny. But from everybody that I heard that didn't know Peter Cushing, didn't even notice that it was like CGI.
That's what, because I was like, I know this man been dead for years.
Hey, yo,
I was like, it shit threw me off, man. And it really made me wonder. I'm like, man, they're gonna start using faces for people that died 50 years ago and put it on movies?
Yeah, I am not. I know a lot of people are very much offended by it, but I really thought, especially with Rogue One, that you needed Tarkin to tell this story.
I know, because the Death Star is his baby.
Yeah, and I think as long as you do it with respect and pay the family, I think there needs to be a regulation on how to ethically do it. I know a lot of people complaining, but what about new actors, etc. When an actor is good, they get roles.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ian Holm. I think also that Ian Holm was. I don't think it was necessary, because of course, not only Android must look the same, but I think they did it very well. And Ian Holm, of course, very dear to my heart. Not only because of the first Alien, not only from Hell, but mostly of course, from the Lord of the Rings. And when he passed away, I shed a tear for Bilbo.
Yeah.
So, but I'm personally, as a big Peter Cushing fan, and when I still was invested into Star Wars before Rogue One is actually the best Star Wars movie, even though it's a Disney movie. But when I was still invested in Star Wars, Grand Moff Tarkin was my favorite character. And from the moment when I was a kid, Grand Moff Tarkin was it for me. I rooted for the Empire. Maybe it's the German in me. It's just felt naturally rooting for Tarkin. So for me, who really loves Peter Cushing and Ian Holm, I was not offended by the reuse of their visuals, in Rogue One or in Alien Romulus. I was more offended by the human-alien hybrid in Alien Romulus.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm looking forward to next week with that movie we're going to talk. And also, I want to note, I was going to mention this earlier, but we got into the conversation. Next year for Halloween, do you want to do the Hellboy films?
Yes. I'm always in for Hellboy.
Because we can also talk the animated movies as well.
I haven't actually never seen the animated movies, so if I can find them, I can also talk them. Yeah. Yeah,
because
I could cosplay as Conan, but I would get arrested.
Because I would love to revisit the Del Toro Hellboy movies, the David Harbour film I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And if we talk the animated films, because the animated films were enjoyable for what they were.
Yeah, I have never seen them.
Voicing.
I have never seen them, but yeah, hell yeah, why not? I really.
And I'm a huge fan of the Hellboy comics.
I
Plague of Frogs, all that stuff. I got all the hardcovers of BPRD, the Hellboy.
I didn't read the comics so much. I read like some issues because it's just I knew when I get into it that I'm also having like a fucking Hellboy.
Bro, if you get into it, it's worth the read.
I know, but then I'm gonna have the single issues and then need a new room full of boxes.
Hey, bro, I the only single issues of Hellboy I have are like more of the recent ones of the 5-issue minis. But most of the stuff I have is the hardcovers. Like I scooped up those hardcovers.
I think they also have like a complete omnibus. Maybe in the like don't tempt me, brother.
Hey, we're talking occult, we're talking investigations and all that stuff. Bro, I'm trying to tempt the fuck out of you. Next episode, I'm going to bring all the books and I'm like, you need to read this. You need to read that. Don't make me get up and grab them now. Because I remember back in 2017, somebody posted a tag and was like, what would you what ideal crossover would be good for you? And I put Hellboy and Ghostbusters because it actually makes sense of paranormal activity and investigation. And then you got guys that eliminate ghosts.
And you know, like that Peter Mignola has so much love for European lore, and therefore so much there's fucking Krampus in Hellboy.
Yeah, there's a lot of it in BPRD.
Yeah, which even this year I took vacation on Krampus Day because I want to go to Salzburg and see the real Krampus.
There's a lot of it. That's gonna be my goal for 2025 to get you into Hellboy and the BPRD book.
They're like, yeah, dude. They're like, let's spend more money.
But trust me, it's gonna be well worth. Because I didn't get into reading the books till later on when the hardcovers came out, and when I read them, I was shit, man. I've been missing out all this.
Let's see.
And those books a lot of them are expensive because they're out of print. But
what's there? There's a Hellboy Omnibus box set on Amazon for probably not all, like 1,600 pages in English from 2021.
Oh, so that's a couple years ago.
Seed of Destruction, Strange Places, The Wild Hunt, which I love. The Wild Hunt. It's also why I love the new Hellboy movie, and Hellboy is Hell.
Hellboy in Hell, yeah, that was the one.
Hellboy in Hell.
I got all those hardcovers, man. The dark black
hardcovers. Actually, this is one box and it's 83 euros. Oh, fuck you, Sean. I love you, but fuck.
I'm gonna get you to fall down that rabbit hole. Hey, trust me, man. If you get into it, man, I'm gonna read all that stuff so we can. Because I love the Mignola version and Hellboy and all that stuff. I mean, let me get the stream for you before you get mad at me some more.
I still have that comic that came with the original special edition of the DVD of the first Hellboy movie down there.
Yeah. So we got a year before the Hellboy show in October of next year. I'm gonna read all the books.
Yeah.
Everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll see y'all next week. Y'all have a fantastic weekend, y'all. Peace.